How's it going, everyone? Back with another video. It's been like 2 weeks. I know it's been a little hiatus here, guys, and I haven't put out videos as consistently as I was before, but just to be honest with you, for the last like 2 months, I've been going so hard with YouTube and the podcast and all the content that I was putting out that I really kind of slacked on the stuff that I needed to do for the weddings. I had a whole stack of weddings editing work that was getting backed up and backed up. Sarah and I had got rid of our last editor because the consistency of the work wasn't there. They were like really good in the beginning and then things kind of started trailing off. So we took over the editing. And because of all the content that I was putting out, honestly, I started to slack with that stuff and I just got too bogged down. Also, I was slacking with my gym routine, which I need for my mental health. I really do need to be at the gym like at least 4 or 5 times a week or else I start to go crazy. And all that stuff was just kind of taking a back seat to the YouTube and the podcast because I was going so hard with it. I'm not going to ramble on about this too much, but I want you guys to understand that this is a lot of work. I mean, it really is. And I absolutely love it, but that doesn't mean it's not work. And it really is coming up with ideas, executing, making sure I'm filming, bringing my gear around everywhere, and putting the thought into making coherent videos that are actually useful. It takes a lot of time. So I'm going to start to get the balance back, and I just want you guys to know how much I appreciate all the support. You guys are still sending me emails. I'm still getting like hundreds of new subscribers and all that, but you're still reaching out to me and just saying, hey, I've been watching your other videos and everything's helping. So just wanted to say, hey, I'm still here, and, I have a lot of good content coming. So this week, I wanted to talk about something that obviously the iPhone 11 Pro, the new iPhone, got released, and I was doing a lot of thinking about it. So it's funny because us as photographers, we think, like, let me actually step back. So photographers for a long time had this thing where there was a certain mystique about them. They would show up to jobs, or we would show up to jobs, we'd have big cameras, we'd have all this gear, all these lights, all this stuff, and we'd make photos, and people were just kind of, there's a magical element to it. People were like, holy shit, how's this person operating all this stuff? How are they doing that? And then they'd get their photos delivered, and everything was crisp and professional or creative, whatever your style is. And there was this element of like almost a little bit of a celebrity status with a photographer. And a lot of that was because they knew how to operate all this complicated gear that could give them give clients professional looking photos. Now, fast forward to what we have now, and technology is increasing so fast. I mean, it just seems like every single 6 months, something else is coming out that like blows last year's model of whatever it is just completely out of the water. And now that we have the iPhone 11 Pro and this thing is released and I'm looking at the specs, I was doing a lot of thinking on this. Now, what I mean by the title, I don't know exactly what I'm going to name this video yet. I usually name the videos after I already make them, but it's going to be something like, is the iPhone 11 going to kill some type of photography? Okay, and that might piss some people off. But I'm going to be real with you guys. You know I always am. I think yes. I think the iPhone technology and the mobile technology in these cameras is going to start to dwindle in and really cut out a certain type of photographer or a certain area. So right now, already, the cameras are good enough to make unbelievable vlogging and blogging videos, unbelievable product photography pretty much. I mean, if you don't, it's funny because I do a lot of traveling. I'm in hotels a lot. I see a lot of advertisements for different things. A lot of that stuff that they use for brochures and stuff like that, a lot of it can be shot with just high quality cameras on mobile now. I mean, it doesn't take care of everything. Obviously, like high-end product photography where you need special lighting, you're capturing movement. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm saying is this technology is starting to eat away at different types of photography. And that mystique and that like, wow factor of a photographer coming in and doing a job and getting these crazy photos is starting to get less and less magical, if you know what I'm saying. So this also makes me think about my industry, like, weddings, more creative stuff. I don't know how many of you guys have checked out my Instagram. If you haven't, it's the Monochrome Memoirs, and you'll see our wedding work. It's more on the creative side. We're into creative storytelling. We're into portraits and dynamic photos that really focus on intimate moments and tell stories. Also, we're into a lot of creative lighting stuff. But a lot of the documentary type stuff, the photos that are coming off of these new cell phone cameras, as long as the lighting is okay, are comparable in a lot of ways. Obviously, you're not going to get, all the bells and whistles of a normal camera. You're not going to get, EVFs or great, 100% coverage viewfinders and, 3D tracking and face tracking and, different lenses and all that. But these new cameras that are coming out on these cell phone cameras, guys, I mean, they're coming out with the iPhone 11 Pro has optical image stabilization. It has ultra wide angle lenses, and then zoom features, optical zoom features. I mean, they shoot in all HD 4K. I mean, everything is trending towards compact, very, very high quality cameras and very compact and useful things that you can just stick in your pocket. So the element of technology is moving so fast that I wouldn't be surprised. Like, we already have portrait modes for some of these cameras. I wouldn't be surprised. Like, right now it looks like shit and you could see like background blur. It doesn't look natural. But I wouldn't be surprised in 5 years for that to look absolutely unbelievable and almost the same as using a portrait lens with, a 1.4 portrait lens and just have the background blown out. Seriously, these algorithms that they're using and the technology is getting so good and so small and cheap that you can put it in your pocket for $1,000. So I think everyone's on the same agreement that we're on the path here. And the technology is starting to, people are starting to say, holy shit, I already see these arguments with these other photographers like, oh, well, they'll never be able to produce, bokeh that looks like this, and you'll never be able to produce that. Guys, I think that the technology is on the way. It's on its way. So that being said, how can we continue to separate ourselves? And what does this mean for us as photographers? Because, there's an element to it that I think about that's kind of like, it is kind of scary in some type of way. It's like, oh, wow, somebody can purchase a cell phone for $1,000 now and make unbelievable images if they have somewhat of an eye and, have decent lighting. They can go out and create dynamic photos that look great with just a cell phone camera. What does that mean for somebody like me who's running a creative business? And what this means is exactly what I've been telling you guys for like the last 30 videos. It comes down to developing your eye for the moments. Okay, no matter what happens with the camera technology or how far it comes, the actual gear is never ever gonna separate the photographer. It's always gonna be about the person who has the eye, the person who has the imagination, and the person who can create dynamic photos that have connection with them, in them. It does not come down to the actual gear, but this is gonna box out a lot of people, I feel like, in the end. Like, there's a lot of people that are making money from photography right now that basically are making money like that just because they know how to operate the gear, they know how to operate the cameras, they have some good technical experience, and they're not really competing on having a different perspective and having a different eye, actually developing their own creative style. See, that's the thing, guys, is if you develop an actual style, a signature that comes from you and a place of truth, there is absolutely no way, no matter what anybody's shooting with, that somebody else is going to be able to come in, encroach, and take that from you, because it's something that's authentic. So I feel like there's going to be a big mass of people that are going to come out, get these cameras, and then start actually shooting things and get paid with them. And then there's going to be very high-priced small clusters of super creative, super talented photographers that are going to thrive in their own areas. Okay? I think that era of anybody, who just buys a bunch of gear and then learns it and doesn't have like a sort of a creative or a style edge, and be able to make a good living with that. I think that era is coming to a close. We're in the tail end of that because, face it, there's going to be people who just buy a cell phone, buy an iPhone. I mean, you could finance them now. You don't even have to pay the $1,000. You just pay like $30 a month in your cell phone bill and you have it. people are going to be going out and undercutting people's prices and just be like, oh, I could do that for that product photography for you. I could do that social media management. I'll come in, take some photos of you, and then post on your feed. Or, I can I could take some headshot portraits of you, and all those areas that aren't really, people just need photography that looks professional and crisp and clean that they can use online. All that stuff, guys, it's going to start getting undercutted like crazy, in my opinion, because the technology's out there where everybody's going to have that stuff in their pocket, and it does not, I mean, it's super dumbed down. It's not difficult to figure out how to get the most out of a cell phone camera. It's really not. You don't have to really even know aperture and shutter speed and ISO. You don't have to deal with any of that. It's all done with the camera. So unless you have a creative, competitive edge, I feel like the prices are going to start to come down in a lot of people's work very, very fast. And this might upset people. You know what I mean? And it might, and I feel like it's not a bad thing to admit that this is like kind of scary and this is a new era and new elements are popping up and like, you're not totally comfortable with this. I feel like admitting that is a lot better than just being like, oh, fuck that. Like no one's ever going to be able to do what I would do with a cell phone. Well, really? I mean, do you really believe that? Because this technology is getting pretty damn good. And it seems to get like exponentially better like every 6 months, every year. So what's it going to look like 5 years down the road? You know what I'm saying? So you got to figure out now, and you got to assess yourself and say, where am I different? Where is my signature style? If somebody put up 50 photos on the wall, could they pick out 5 of mine consistently? Because that is a stuff that's, no matter what technology does, no one's going to be able to recreate that. No one's going to be able to do that just because they have a camera. You have to make sure that what you're doing is different. And I'm trying to make a video, guys, a one that I've wanted to make for a long time is on what we can learn from Stanley Kubrick. He's one of my favorite. I know he's a cult favorite. A lot of people love him and a lot of people hate him, but he had a very special thing, an original, very specific viewpoint that developed through the course of his movies. And it was because he spent so much time, he was obsessed with the quality of the product and the delivery of the artistic vision that was coming out through his photos. Absolutely obsessed with that. And that's how you have to be to actually create something that's going to be different. It's not a passive, just thing like, oh, I'm an artist, so like, it just comes naturally to me. Like, I don't believe that. It doesn't come naturally. Well, I'm not going to say it doesn't come naturally to me, but it does not come without a lot of work and hardcore focus on what I'm doing and what type of message I want to bring. And that's why I feel like people keep hiring us, is because that shines throughout the work. And they can't go down the street and get something that looks just like ours just because somebody else has a camera. And so I really wanted to get the conversation going with this, guys. What do you guys think? I mean, have you been thinking about this stuff? I know you have. I mean, if you're a photographer, you've heard the rumblings of people being, arguing back and forth about where, cell phone cameras overlap DSLRs and mirrorless cameras and where they're going and if they're going to be able to replace certain types of photography. I think it's a good conversation to have, and I think it's a good one that we can be honest about what industries or what areas of this industry are going to really be affected and how we can separate ourselves to make sure that we're still being able to, charge enough and to have a career out of this. And it's not just like a second job, or, if our area gets undercut so much that, there's 50 million people with a high-powered smartphone that can do what we do, so we're not getting booked anymore, or we have to drastically lower our prices. I think it's a good thing that we should talk about, and I think that ignoring it is a mistake. We should all start to find ways that we can, have the conversation about what's going to make us better, what's going to make us stand out, so we can continue making, a career out of this. Let me know what you guys think. I'm really excited to hear this. I know this is going to probably fire up some people's opinions, but I like getting the conversation going. So I appreciate you guys sticking around with the channel. And, continue sending me the emails and listen to the podcast. People have been listening to the podcast like crazy. So I really, really appreciate it, guys. Until the next video.